Welcome back, everyone. We're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the Daily Fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. Joining us today, we've got two very special guests. We've got return guest Nick Cantmine, who is the head of news at Bitcoin Magazine, and we've got first-time guest, hopefully not the last time, we've got Greg Foss, Boomer Pleb. We are diving into the numbers. Let's do it, people.
Number time. Number time is brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever, hosted in sunny Miami Beach, Florida. Chad Saylor, Michael Saylor, Naeem Bukele, Adam Back. The lineup is nuts. Deadmau5 is spinning on the last day. It's going to be crazy. You're not going to want to miss it. And you can take advantage of the link down below for 10% off your tickets to the largest Bitcoin conference in the world, Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 721,552. The Bitcoin price, 36,950. Chain rewrite days, 737. Total public lightning capacity, 3,398.34. That is a new all-time high. Moscow time, 27:06. Blocks to the halvening, 118,448. And the new metric that we've added, which is the Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity, 4,393.67. And for the people who don't know what that is, Samurai Whirlpool is a coin mixing service, and that is the amount of BTC that is currently in the service at the time.
Very good. Very short, much shorter description than a couple days ago when you totally butchered it. But yeah, I appreciate it, Phil. And anyways, I picked something interesting to talk about in the numbers today, and I picked it because Greg was coming on the show, and Nick, of course. Check this out. Can't wait for Greg to dismantle this completely. But hey, look at this. The U.S. national debt exceeds $30 trillion for first time in history. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. You guys have been so numbed to this trillion part because we've been hearing it for so long. But just to kind of give you guys a reference for how big that is. This is World War II, right? And the U.S. GDP to debt ratio didn't surpass 120% for the first time ever. We're about 130%, 128% to be specific, of debt to GDP. That is absolutely bonkers. We've had a lot of people on the show, from Mark Moss. We had Jeff Booth yesterday, that are essentially calling this, the end of the fiat system as we know it. Phil and I are just two plebs, right? We cover this, and we're not economists. We don't have crazy backgrounds, but you know what? To do a good job for this show, we're essentially forced to cover things, on a daily basis. So you start to pick up signs, and it's just for us, it's scary, but we're not going to be able to describe it as well as Greg. Greg, what are your thoughts on this? Is it as dire as it looks?
It's worse. So basically, first of all, shout out to Jeff Booth. If he was on your show yesterday, he and I are, I describe him as a brother from another mother. Okay, so we're both Canadians, and we arrived at the mathematics the same way. His book, The Price of Tomorrow, is the best book I've ever read. I hadn't read his book before I wrote my research paper on why Bitcoin matters for fixed income investors anywhere in the world. But here's what I know. First of all, you're focusing on total what's called funded debt. Okay, so 30 trillion is a big number. Figure out how many Bitcoin that is. Okay, it's a ridiculous number of Bitcoin is a great way to look at it. Most importantly, the unfunded debt of the USA is actually 164 trillion. That's include Medicare and Medicaid. So you pulled up that New York Post article. I'm not sure if your readers follow or your listeners follow. Watch usdebtclock.org. It has all of these numbers live. You can get these numbers. So what you really need to understand is Americans are also counting on Medicare and Medicaid benefits from the Social Security system. You ain't going to get them, people. Okay, it's not happening. You can't even pay your gross, your funded debt, which is your federal debt, as a percentage of GDP. Because after World War II, the USA had a trade surplus. Now the USA is in a trade deficit. So the way the economic numbers work, it's impossible to pay down your GDP, your debt burden that's funded, let alone your 164 trillion, 5 times as much that Americans are counting on for Medicare and Medicaid.
So I'm going to pass it on to Nick because he's a Zoomer. He's younger than me. I'm a millennial. Nick, how scammed do you feel?
I don't even know what to say. Like growing up, they don't even teach you anything about financial education. Like all of this is normal. Like, you grow up and, I remember actually in civics class in high school, they taught us about, the website Greg just mentioned where you can go and see the debt live, and like people just look at that my age and they're like, yep, that's just normal. We're just going to keep going more and more into debt. It's like the meme of the guy sitting in the house or the dog sitting in the house with the burning fire. And he's like, yeah, this is okay. That's pretty much everyone my generation.
There's the US debt clock. Sorry to jump on top of you, Nick, but then go to the bottom right hand corner, gentlemen. There's your you were there. Okay, see, look, your bottom right hand corner, 164 trillion right there. Okay. 164 trillion. Okay.
Don't worry. We're gonna pay for that with SDRs.
It's only mathematics, fellas. I've been memed to death today because I use the same lines over and over again. But here's the thing: math is simple. It is impossible to escape this debt spiral without printing and continuing to print, which means your housing price is going to go higher. And hard assets are going higher when measured against a unit of account, the US fiat dollar, which is 100% certain to debase. Very simple math. Don't overthink it.
And check this out. I want to talk about this a little bit before I pull this down. Debt per citizen. So as soon as you're born, you have an automatic. I mean, if you're using this metric of $90,000, that is absolutely
but then
crazy.
5 times that, it's 450,000 plus 90,000. It's $500,000 per citizen.
Bonkers.
It's bonkers.
Nick, how do you feel about that? You're from the younger generation.
Say it to me, Nick. Say it to me. You're a selfish old boomer, Foss. You have stolen from me. You're a selfish, and by the way, am I allowed to swear? You're a selfish old fuck, okay? You are to blame for stealing the future from the children. You're soft. Boomers are soft.
I got a future though, because I hold Bitcoin, so that's the way out of me.
Yeah, so if those are numbers, absolutely. They're so big that it's like it's what Nick was saying earlier, that you're just like, yeah, okay, but the only way that you protect yourself from this madness, right, is by opting out, by buying Bitcoin, right? There's what Greg said, there's $161 trillion in debt if you include Medicare and all that stuff. But there's will ever be 21 million Bitcoin. And that makes me extremely bullish. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Fail.
The Daily Fail is brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. It is the easiest way to buy Bitcoin. It's a Bitcoin stacking app by actual toxic Bitcoiners. The link is down below.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
Tagged in this by @HansFilms or Metal Shredding BTC. Good Bitcoiner. Give him a follow. Go back and forth with him a lot. He sends me this weird article. Okay, this very strange article. Adeo wants to inject Bitcoin into mouse DNA via a genetically modified virus. Yeah, this is not a troll. Anyways, let's dive into this. All right, we are going to dive into this article about Adeo wants to inject Bitcoin into mouse DNA via genetically modified virus. Now, keep in mind, I'm not dumping on the advancement of technology or anything like that, okay? It has nothing to do with dumping on the technology. But as you will see as the story develops, it just doesn't need to be a shitcoin. And this is just a strange idea to begin with.
So what you're saying, Phil, is that you could just inject Bitcoin without going through a shitcoin to inject Bitcoin.
I am going to read this thing to you, okay? And then you'll see, okay? We're going to dive into this. This is by far one of the strangest type of, how could I say this nicely? one of the weirdest shitcoin ideas I've ever heard to extract money from noobs. Okay, this is by far one of the weirdest. All right, here we go. A new decentralized autonomous organization called BitMouseDAO wants to genetically engineer a mouse to put a Bitcoin inside it. The setting up of a DAO to achieve something big and crazy enough has been seen before. Whether it's the Constitution DAO wanting to buy a rare copy of the US Constitution, or Blockbuster DAO wanting to own the brand name and convert it into a streaming platform. I just want to add, before I move on, both of which failed miserably. Anyways, because they're ridiculous ideas. You have a centralized entity pretending to be decentralized to own a specific object, and then for some reason it needs to be money. Okay, let's go. Like with other DAOs, the identity of the original creator is under wraps. But if I had to guess, it's a molecular biology student with a lot of interest in crypto art. Okay. To me, that was just strange. That was kind of like a strange thing for them to insert, and I felt it had to be said. Like, so you're just letting everybody know that the rug can be pulled and nobody knows who it is, and we could all guess that it's an art student with a background in biology? It's just strange. It's just strange. Anyways, you remember how we were saying that projects are getting dumber to fleece the noobs faster and faster?
Gigi said that. We didn't say that.
Gigi said that. You're right. We did not say that. He said that on this show, and we agreed with him. All right. The DAO plans to make non-fungible tokens of the original BitMouse and its offspring that will be auctioned to the highest bidder and make money for those who support this project now. Interestingly, the creator is also aware that inserting a genetic sequence may not happen and has a backup plan of injecting the mouse with a non-lethal virus that carries an encrypted copy of the private key. The creator wants to rope in a biotech company to do all this and will definitely need a lot of funds to even get this project started. Unfortunately, the DAO has only 3 supporters and just donated over 0.02 ETH so far. The creators of the DAO clarified that their project was only to create a different piece of art and not make a biochemical monster. However, going by its current funding status, they might not be able to make anything at all. But wait, there's more. Anyways, I had to go to their website, right? Like, obviously, after reading this article, I had to go look at their website and see the ridiculousness, okay? So, I mean, I just have to assume that they just hand off this picture to everyone. This is like the stock picture for this thing, because like that article had the same picture. So let's dive in, right? The first mouse with Bitcoin in its body. BitMouse is a product that incorporates a wide range of disciplines and technologies. In the art world, Eduardo Kac, who pioneered the discipline of bioart, used a fluorescent protein gene to make a rabbit glow in certain light. I'm pretty sure he didn't need a shitcoin. I'm pretty sure he got funding a different way without fleecing noobs, but I digress. Our expectations for the BitMouse are similar, but more than that. We've tied the value of the mouse directly to Bitcoin, and it'll fluctuate with the daily value of Bitcoin. Maybe in 10 years it'll be worth 100 million. Or maybe it'll be worth nothing. Ideally, the offspring of the BitMouse would also carry the private key, and we would make specimens of them to sell at auction after they die of natural causes. At that point, a single Bitcoin would split into multiple specimens, but as soon as someone breaks the specimen to extract the genetic information and thus remove the BitMouse, the other specimens would lose their value. On the flip side, breaking the specimen and destroying the artwork may not even happen when Bitcoins are worthless. Wait.
I feel bad for Greg.
I know, me too. I'm like,
Why do you do this?
Hey, look, I know how to pick them. Okay, I know how to pick these articles, man. Like, it's but look, you got to give a shout out to to our fellow followers and the fellow plebs, right? They tag us in this, and we listen. So here we go. Don't worry, we're almost done with this pain, and then we can comment on this misery. How do we carry that out, right? How do they carry this whole thing that I just read to you out? All right, here we go. They got 3 options, which I had to reread a few times. Anyways, I don't understand what they're doing. All right, number 1, we use cold wallet technology and then generate the private key offline. Number 2, by working with biological company, we can break down the key into the corresponding ATGC sequence edited by quaternary encoding, which goes into the mice for fertilization. We rely on a mouse surrogate for gestation until its birth. So they inject it, and they inject the mouse, and then the mouse that's born has the private key DNA to try to simplify that if I understood that correctly. That's right, people. This is actually happening. All right. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, number 3, if method 2 is not technically possible to implement, we'll work with a biological company to edit the private key into a harmless virus. Who ever heard of a problem tampering with viruses? What could go wrong? Anyways, an important part of this experiment is the purchase. It's the best part. The purchase of the BitMouse tokens. Boom! You need a shitcoin. What? Like, it's scary enough that they're sticking Bitcoin into this thing, but they tag a shitcoin onto it. We're going to create an NFT token based on the image of the mouse, which we will auction on the mainstream NFT trading platform for a week. I don't know which platform they're talking about. The final bidder will receive a physical artwork of the mouse. The animal cells will remain active under this preservation technique. 75% of the final profit from the auction will be airdropped to BitMouse holders. 25% will be used for community building and funding other art projects. Keep that in mind, because there's a lot of copy paste in this. If the fertilization program is successful,
I can't take this anymore, Phil.
I'm so sorry. I know, it's almost done. It's almost done. I swear. We have to see it through, man. Okay. The community will keep the BitMouse, thus naming and creating an exclusive non-fungible token for each mouse born thereafter. The BitMouse DAO community votes to participate in the creation and signing of the NFT. Each auction lasts 1 week, and the highest bidder within a week will receive the physical artwork of the mouse, okay? And then, if we dive into the last sentence of this, 75% of all auction proceeds will be airdropped to BitMouse holders, and 25% will be used for community building and
there it is.
Other art projects. So you could see the copy and paste is strong with this one. Very strong. Okay, so here we go, wrapping it up. Inspired by the Constitution DAO, we believe that the DAO format can make any crazy idea possible, which is extremely important in the art field. The innovation that breaks through the border is also exactly what humanity needs. BitMouse DAO also aims to be a pioneering and free community. Our fundraising can be used to discover and fund truly innovative projects or artistic practices. We can even use the technology to create crypto pets for those in need. Of course, BitMouse holders will determine the future of the community. Finally, please help us realize this crazy idea. And they give you a link to donate. And of course, buy their shitcoin. So, I can't even believe this is real. I mean, there were insane, stupid, psychotic ICO ideas
Phil,
in 2017.
That was the worst you've ever made me sit through. That was absolutely fucking terrible.
Terrible.
Poor mouses, bro. I feel bad for them.
Right?
They're getting shit coins injected into them. They don't even know. Unsuspecting mouses. Nick, what are your thoughts on the BitMouse?
The first thing that comes to my mind is just people have way too much time on their hands. Like how you wake up in the morning and even think you have enough time to do this, let alone just think it out to begin with, is just crazy to me. But it reminds me of something kind of like what Jack Dorsey said yesterday talking with Saylor at the Bitcoin for Corporations event, when he called out Zuckerberg saying, why are you creating your own shitcoin when you can just be adopting Bitcoin and furthering Bitcoin? Like, imagine if people would just put aside these stupid ideas, and just focus on furthering Bitcoin in any way they can. Like what Phil said, I'm all for, innovation and, people really pushing the boundaries on stuff. But I don't see how injecting the Bitcoin code or wallets or whatever, it was hard to listen to. I don't get how
I wanted to rip my eyes out.
It was hard to read.
And the way I think of it is if it doesn't further hyper-Bitcoinization and they're selling you a token, it's just a straight scam.
All right, so first question to Greg. Greg, I doubt you'll come back on Simply. Welcome to Simply Bitcoin.
Maybe we should start with an apology.
I'll come back, but here's my cost, all right? My cost is I need Phil to make another donation to Freedom Truckers after making me sit through that bullshit, okay? So that was fucking painful, dude. But here's what I'll tell you.
Done,
Zuckerberg, Zuck is a cuck, okay? Don't listen to what Zuck says. He's a fucking cuck, okay? Second thing, just buy Bitcoin, people, please. don't mess around with this bullshit. Bitcoin solves the fiat Ponzi. All of this other shit is somebody's stupid, crazy idea. Like they said at the bottom of the little thing, help us fund this crazy idea. How about this? Go fuck yourselves, okay? If you're that stupid to send money to these idiots, you deserve to lose all your money. And I'm going to end it on a positive note. So I'm making reference to this Freedom Convoy in Canada. And one of the members of parliament in Canada sent me a sign that was on the back of one. It was a pickup truck. It wasn't an 18-wheeler. And I loved it. And this is what this made me think of. Unvaxxed sperm is the next Bitcoin. Okay? You want to fucking put a NFT on something? Put it on unvaxxed sperm. Because we just don't know. Now, look, I'm doubly vaccinated. I don't plan to have any more kids. But I would suggest that unvaxxed sperm is way more valuable than this idiot fucking project that these clowns are doing. So that's my little rip there.
That is the best rip of any Daily Fail I've heard, Greg.
Phil, that was the biggest fail you've ever done, and you happen to have it on this episode. Incredible. Anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Review. The Daily Meme Review is brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's stories, articles, topics, really cool stuff by savage, toxic Bitcoiners. This is the artwork for volume 10. Every volume it changes, and they're scarce. There's only 1,000 copies made per volume. Get your print of Citadel 21 today. That was atrocious. The meme review is gonna lighten up the mood a little bit.
Way. Here we go.
First memes by Jack Posobiec. The mind of Justin Trudeau. Racist. A learning opportunity for Canadians. And this is when he put on blackface. Hypocrite. Anyways, moving on to the next one by Spintic Crusader. Me washing $200 worth of groceries in 2022. Absolutely hilarious. By Yellow ICO Offender. 6 signs you're actually a Bitcoiner. You don't like socializing at all that much. You're annoyed by 99% of the population. You hate what others consider fun. Your happiness is not limited to expensive things. You like affection on your terms. You're victim of a mood swing. Okay, this is good.
Interesting.
Next one by Bitcoin Reserve. Bitcoin is real money. Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same. That is absolutely hilarious. That's Monopoly money and the euro.
Oh, beautiful.
Moving on to the next one by Samuel Staxo. Purchasing my first Bitcoin and joining Bitcoin Twitter in February 2021. February 2022, deep in the rabbit hole. All right, moving on to the next one. This is a combination of art. We can skip that one. All right, there's one hope left. It's called Bitcoin. It's a cool piece of art. All right, let's move on to the last one. The evolution of the trash icon. No, Phil, you don't get to talk anymore this entire fucking show after you made us sit through that. Anyways, the evolution of the trash icon. 1995, the recycle, and last is 2022, the NFT. Absolutely hilarious. I'm still fucking traumatized from what we experienced. I can't even put a smile on my face. I'm gonna give it the honey badger and a taco for my croc. What about you, Phil? You're muted.
I can't actually. No, no, I'm not. I was joking. I was totally joking. Okay, no, I am giving it this, and I do apologize. You know, it's like ripping a Band-Aid off. I had to do it. But in terms of these memes, the scores, okay, the score that I'm giving it is this bottle cap. And if you know what this is from, you know.
Interesting. Nick, what would you give those memes?
I like them, so I'm going to give them a gnome.
You have it!
A Bitcoin gnome. Okay,
love
Greg.
it.
That's right, guys. We're going to make Greg review some memes. Greg, what would you give those memes?
I'm going to have to give them 2, okay? Just because I loved what Phil did. I'm giving them a IPA token. It's called Flying Monkeys, okay? It's a craft brewery from Barrie, Ontario. And on the inside of it, each of their bottle caps have a little meme, a little saying inside of it, all right? So I'll read you this. And this one I saved. Worry is a misuse of your imagination, okay? So it's for people not to worry. You get that in a bottle cap. So that means I like this. So look, I'm giving it. And then I had another thing. It's just my TV remote. just scan through that shit. Like, it's good stuff, but don't spend too much time on it. Be serious about being in Bitcoin, okay? Bitcoin is going to save the fucking world. Now, memes are cool and everything, but do your homework to understand why it is so important. And memes help, but please learn mathematics. Then you'll really understand why Bitcoin is going to save the world.
Absolutely. That is some signal right there. Anyways, guys, we want to know, do you agree with our scores? Do you disagree? Let us know down in the comment section. And of course, subscribe to us on alternative video platforms, because we do say things that piss off central bankers, like rumble.com and our personal favorite, bitcointv.com.
But anyway, one more thing I have to mention. You know what it made me think of? You saw that Trudeau there, right? You saw the meme on Trudeau from Prosovic.
Yes.
You know that liar.com, if you go to liar.com now, isn't that beautiful? That's the power of the internet, right? It gets redirected to Justin Trudeau's Wikipedia page. It's a thing of beauty. Absolutely. He is a buffoon. He is an absolute mathematical buffoon who said stuff like the budget will balance itself. Okay. And he also said, forgive me if I don't care about monetary policy. Well, if that clown was the CEO of a corporation, he'd be fired on the spot, right? Because you can't say that to your shareholders. Yet he runs a $1 trillion economy. And he says those things and people lap it up like he knows what he's talking about. Look at right next to where he calls it racist. That's the best use of a hockey stick holding up the Canadian flag, okay? That's Canada right there. And Justin Trudeau is a fucking buffoon. Thank you.
Look, this is perfect because this is a meme, literally. So I put in liar.com into the browser. I hit enter, and it takes me to Justin Trudeau's Wikipedia page. Absolutely hilarious.
Can't stop this.
Can't stop it. Can't stop the signal. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily News. The Daily Meme Review is brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the 3D printed Bitcoin Honey Badger opens up. You put your favorite hardware wallet in there. Or the 3D printed Bitcoin Art Grenade also opens up. You put your favorite hardware wallet in there as well. Really cool stuff. And you can take advantage of the link down below for 5% off CryptoCloaks.com. Before we get into geopolitical stuff. I mean, this is geopolitical finance stuff. This was by request. We talked about this, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, but Greg wanted to talk about it again. I think it's a great opportunity because it highlights the power of Bitcoin, right? But GoFundMe for Canadian truckers approaches $10 million US, more than the country's political parties raised last quarter. I think that is absolutely bonkers. Right, the Liberal Party that Trudeau is a part of, from last time I read this, raised like 3.1. Right, just wow. This thing that just came out of nowhere already raised more money. Of course, the politicians are trying to get their hands on. But here's the advertisement for Bitcoin. Right, the GoFundMe has been frozen until organizers offered a detailed plan regarding how the funds would be spent. Now, I don't think that's fair, and the reason I don't think that's fair is, again, we're apolitical on this floor, on the show. We don't care whether you lean left or right, as long as you support Bitcoin. But I'm sure you guys remember the Black Lives Matter protests. They didn't freeze any of those funds, right? So again, I think that this highlights the importance of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is apolitical. Bitcoin doesn't care what skin color you are, what political leanings you have, right? Anybody could use Bitcoin, right? And I think that highlights the importance of having something like Bitcoin, especially if, you have the wrong political thoughts, right? And because they use a service like GoFundMe, if it goes against the political leanings of that company, hey, you're at the mercy of them. Where in Bitcoin, you're at the mercy of no one, especially if you take self-custody and you run your own node. But anyways, Greg, what are your thoughts on this whole trucker thing going on?
Are you sure you want me to go first? I feel like Nick.
Yes.
Man,
you must slay it. Life. Slay it, Greg. Slay it.
All right. So look, I'm a freedom supporter. I was very proud of Canada's leadership in this area. Phil, you're a Canadian. Canada rides on the coattails of the US a lot. And having lived in the US myself, I went to school there, but I've worked there, come back to Canada. There's difference in culture, but one thing Canada does well is when we get pissed off, we fight. Okay. Generally it's on the on the ice rink, but we're some, and the good old Western boys that started this truckers rally, they came hard. So I had no idea how much the GoFundMe was relative to political donations, for example. But here's what I do know. Yeah, it's a centralized platform that can be frozen. That is the danger. And so turning this to a Bitcoin, I am part of an effort to raise money for the truckers that is called Honk Honk Hodl. Okay, Honk Honk Hodl is your Lightning wallet that you can donate sats to the Canadian truckers. So far, we have 30 million Satoshis in there. It's not a huge amount, but it's going to be allocated like we choose. So 30 million Satoshis is 1/3, well, 0.3 of a Bitcoin. Okay, so we have approximately 1/3 of a Bitcoin there, plus another wallet. We're slightly over half a Bitcoin in donations raised from the Bitcoin community. Here's the cool thing. If you said yesterday's guest was Jeff Booth, right? Jeff Booth and I are the fiduciaries of this fund. Okay, so there you go. It's got 30.5 million Satoshis. We raised 10 million yesterday, and our goal was 10 million Satoshis, and we raised that in 24 hours. So Jeff Booth, myself, and then the third guy that holds a key to the multi-sig wallet is a fella called Nobody Caribou. Now, the cool thing about Nobody Caribou, and Nick, I'm going to send this over to you, is he was the guy that Bitcoin Magazine saw in the crowd at the truckers rally holding up the sign that said Bitcoin opt out, and with a Canadian flag that was drawn. So he's boots on the ground, and he's telling me some amazing stories about what's really going on. But I'm going to pass it over to Nick, and if you want to talk more about it after that, all I know is I'm coming after Phil for a donation for making my eyes bleed, having to fucking sit through that little, NFT scenario. All right. And then you're going to also call all your friends who live up in the West Island of Montreal still, Phil, and you're going to say, hey, fellas, come on. It's time to support freedom.
Phil, you have to donate, and you have to take a screenshot of the donation, and you have to tweet it out and tag Greg.
Oh yeah,
that will be your apology.
He knows this is going to get done.
I know it's going to get. Montrealers are men of their words.
Don't worry, we're doing it. Definitely doing it. I was already thinking it as I was reading it. I'm like, hey, he's going to ask for a donation.
Guys, pause the video. Pause the video right now if you're listening. Help support the freedom movement from this tyranny happening on a worldwide scale. We're going to put the link down below. You can donate some sats. Help support the truckers. Nick, what are your thoughts on this? Another freedom movement. They can't censor us this time. That's what's up.
Yeah, and before I get started, Greg, I'd love to hear more about those stories. I know Jessie Willems, she writes a lot about Bitcoin mining in the space. She's on the ground as well in Canada and has been telling me a lot about it as well. And it's so inspiring and just honestly restores my faith in humanity, watching a group of people say, fuck it, enough is enough, And I mean, the videos I've seen on Twitter of the huge long lines of trucks, I mean, they're not sharing that on mainstream media. Most of the world doesn't know about it. If you don't have Twitter or some news outlet outside mainstream media, you probably don't know about it. I called my parents, each of them, my mom and my dad, and I asked them if they knew anything about the trucker protest going on. They didn't have a clue.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And I had to tell them all about it, record the videos and send it to them. But I mean, their dedication and commitment to this is also so inspiring, especially during, what I'm assuming is a harsh Canadian winter, at least way cold. Harsher than what I'm used to.
Well, but listen, sorry, I'll send it back to you. There's videos of people dancing in the street in Ottawa on Saturday night. And Saturday night in Ottawa, it was minus 20 degrees Celsius. So for you Americans, that works out to below 0 Fahrenheit, okay? And people are dancing in the street in Montreal, just waving flags. There's a couple of Bitcoin flags there. It was quite cool. I wasn't there, but I had friends who were there, they said it, including one of my buddies who broke his rib because he was dancing and he slipped on some ice and busted his ribs. But anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, and then you know, people were starting to get pissed off, you know, who were against the freedom protests, which I don't know how you could have a soul and be against, you know, the freedom protests. But apparently the mayor of Ottawa was calling the towing companies and saying, hey, you need to come tow these trucks out of here. And they were just like, we can't, we got COVID, you know.
I love it.
You know, it's like, I love it. And we're going to fucking win this. We're going to win this battle against tyranny. I cannot, like, I stand with everyone who, like, there's a global push, in my opinion. There's just a global push for global communism at the moment, spearheaded by the World Economic Forum. If you look at the world leaders associated with the WEF, they're the ones with the harshest COVID mandates and restrictions. And nothing warms my heart more than seeing people band together and overthrow it. I mean, like, the first day they did it, they locked down the politicians, and all of a sudden everyone's happy, everyone's excited. Lemon on Twitter was telling me that, you know, businesses are flourishing because, you know, it's bringing in so many people, bringing in so much money. You just love to see it.
Absolutely.
So that's a great. Oh, sorry. Did I jump on someone?
No, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. So basically, yeah, to put some more numbers, because I'm a numbers guy. So there were 500,000 non-Ottawa citizens in Ottawa. So you hear the mainstream media spins the tale about, oh, you know, we can't open these restaurants or we can't open these businesses. Well, when you have 500,000 extra people in your town, that's bringing a lot of hotel rooms. It's bringing a lot of food. There were stories of some bad actors, and I'm not going to say there weren't bad actors, but here are other stats I know. 0 arrests. 0 arrests with 500,000 people there. That's Phil, I don't know when you moved out of Montreal, but in a regular Stanley Cup hockey loss, when the Habs lose, we loot stores on St. Catherine Street. We burn buildings. Hey, this is how you protest, okay? 0 arrests. And then you clean up your garbage. So there's photos of real people going around with garbage bags, and they're erasing paint, and they're cleaning statues. Okay, this is all true, all documented. You won't see one of these in mainstream media because the narrative pushed by buffoon Trudeau is these people are evil. Let me tell you what evil is. Trudeau is so tied into the World Economic Forum that Klaus Schwab is pushing how proud he is of this fucking numbskull.
What we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister.
Okay, little conflicted Pierre Elliott Trudeau's son, who's never worked a day in his life, doesn't understand economics, pretty boy born on third base, thought he hit a triple, is managing a country on behalf of votes where he got 31% of the popular vote, and he is prime minister. A lot of these numbers don't make sense. Buy Bitcoin, opt out, defund the CBC. Do you know who the CBC is? Phil knows who they are. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation that's funded by the government that won't show you one iota of truth about what's going on in Canada. Disgraceful mainstream media reporting because they get funded by the federal government, okay? This is just so apparent now. And I'm 58 years old. I haven't brought that up. And there's a bingo square that's made after me because some of the guys think I repeat myself too much, okay? So if you have the square that has 58 on it, you put your little star or you put your little bingo ticker on it and says, okay, Foss says he's 58. I grew up with a rotary dial telephone. Hey, this mainstream media now cannot beat TikTok videos. They can't beat the ability of people to show real-time truth versus all the mainstream media bullshit that you're fed through the news outlets, Reuters, All these things that are just standardized, regurgitated bullshit that the government wants to hear. So sorry, Nick, over to you, man.
No, you're good. I just wanted to say one more thing is like, fuck Justin Trudeau. I probably said his last name wrong, but
No,
I mean,
you
like,
said it perfect.
what a fucking pussy, leaving the very day. Like, you ruin people's lives and you lock them down in their houses and you're trying to force vaccines on them. And then when they have a problem and they have the courage to take it up with you, you just run away to an undisclosed location.
Yeah.
This is like the problem I have with protecting politicians too much, is that they are shielded from facing the consequences of their actions. And one thing I'm actually bullish on to turn this into a positive light is there's a lot of talk. A lot of people think that pro-Bitcoin Canadian politician Pierre Poilievre,
Pierre Poilievre, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I saw that he has a real chance of winning and being the new leader of the Conservative Party in Canada. And with how, I don't know if you guys saw the video of him preaching Bitcoin to, I think it was Congress, but he said after, well, he wasn't preaching Bitcoin specifically, but he was preaching hard money.
Yeah.
And after that, he was, going back and forth with Saifedean, and he was like, "Yep, like your book, The Bitcoin Standard, taught me a lot." And I think if he gets in a real good position of power, there's a big momentum shift that's going to continue happening.
I'm a huge fan of Pierre's. I speak to him regularly. So does Jeff Booth. I helped Mr. Poilievre buy Bitcoin. Okay. When he decided to buy Bitcoin, I was there to help him. I have given a presentation to 45 members of parliament, all in his party, on the benefits of Bitcoin, Bitcoin mining, and the benefits to an economy like Canada that has a surplus of natural resource and fossil fuel energy. Okay. It's just such a simple solution for Canada to embrace Bitcoin. And I think Pierre gets it. Now, we have to be careful not to make this a partisan platform. This would be good for all Canadians, but it's an education process, right? So Pierre is wicked smart and he does his homework. And he's so busy that I never know when he's going to ask to talk to me, but basically it comes in like the bat phone rings. So the last time I talked to him was last Friday night, and I get this text, calling. That's all I get, calling. Okay. And it's like 7 p.m. on a Friday. And I'm not doxing him, like it happened and it's no big deal. But I'll tell you, he's working at 7 p.m. on a Friday night, working on the future of Canada. I tell you what I'm certain of. Justin Trudeau was not working at 7 p.m. on Friday evening. Okay. Now, one more thing, just do your own homework. You got to read Maggie Trudeau's book. Okay. Who's Justin Trudeau's mom. And then do your own math in terms of some of the psychedelics she did growing up and when she was likely, and I'm going to stop there. She was not a mom who did not experiment whether she was pregnant or not. That's all I'm going to say. And is there a trickle-down effect? It's only mathematics, okay? We have a very dangerous person in power, and perhaps you can trace it right back to his time in the womb. And but I read Maggie Trudeau's book, and she admits it, and I'm just telling you the facts. So understand that just because your dad was prime minister doesn't make you qualified to run a country. Okay? That is what I need to say.
I think, go ahead, Phil.
I just want to say, and that's the problem though, because he got so much. I don't know how to use the proper wording to describe it, but it's almost like he
he's a pretty boy. He's a pretty boy.
But what I'm saying is that like he, because of the respect or whatever it is that his father garnered, like somehow it projected onto him, and there's so many people that seem to think that he can do no evil, but it's like, are you insane? Are you paying attention? He's not his father,
That's fair, but he is. As let's talk about facts. He is tied into the World Economic Forum. He's been a chosen ambassador for that. I have to say it, that evil empire called the World Economic Forum. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, Nick, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I saw a video on Twitter of him when he was a lot younger, and he had like, he was just a lot younger, you could tell, and he was talking about how Canada was a free country, and he was lying through his teeth, and at the end he said that Canada is a place where you can do whatever you want with your body.
This country is a country of openness, of respect, of compassion, of the rule of law, of the rights of the individuals, of freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from crime, freedom to love who you want and not be judged for it, freedom to do what you want with your body.
Fast forward to today, he's forcing vaccines on people.
Yeah.
No,
it's not just him though, guys. We have to remember there's provincial governments that are doing the same thing. I'm ashamed of the Conservative government in Ontario that is run by a knucklehead called Doug Ford, who, he's just as much to blame. This is part of, if the taglines, let's look at the positive. Some of the taglines that Pierre Poilievre is saying is like freedom over fear, right? People were scared. I understand their fear, but enough. Now it's just mathematics. You cannot close down a G7 economy forever without repercussions. Canada's debt is now higher on a per capita basis than the United States. Here's the funny thing. Canada still has a higher credit rating than the USA. How long do you think that's going to last? If the people at S&P had a grain of integrity, they would be downgrading Canada's debt right now. And once that happens, the government's report card doesn't look so good. Okay. And then international lenders who Canada needs to fund all this deficit spending that they're doing, they take a step back and go, what was the CEO of Canada saying again? Stuff like the budget will balance itself and they don't care about monetary policy. Sell these pieces of shit Canadian bonds. I don't want to own these things. Sell them. And then Canada's fucked, okay? And our debt spiral accelerates and we will be the first G7 nation to default because of Justin Buffoon Trudeau. I don't want it to happen. I got 3 kids, but that's the mathematics.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a different angle, right, on this. And I think that in the book, The Sovereign Individual, he talks about this, right? I think that the nation state has reached its pinnacle. The idea that you could vote in a politician and then all of a sudden that politician has influence over the monetary policy is absolutely fucking insane. We need an apolitical money. We need to separate money from state, or none of this ever changes. Because let's say we do, and again, we are apolitical on the show, but we are political in the sense that we are single issue voters. And if you're Canadian, vote for this guy Pierre because he likes Bitcoin, right? So we definitely support any candidate, whether they're on the left or the right. Politically, we just care whether they support Bitcoin or not. So I just want to say that first. And the second thing is, look, the World Economic Forum is the result of fiat, or the Cantillon effect, right? This concept that when the government prints money, it's a redistribution of wealth from the lower and middle classes that don't have the means to save in equities and real estate back to the state and the wealthy who do have the means to save in equities and real estate and then benefit from asset inflation, right? So it's a giant redistribution scam, right? And again, I think that the world would be a much better place if most of the planet, which we haven't reached this yet, I think we're in the very beginnings of this, saved in a currency that does not allow the politicians to debase their wealth and to steal from them to pay for these crazy fucking ideas that come off the top of their head. I think this idea of voting in someone and then all of a sudden he's allowed to essentially steal from a group of people and give it to another group of people is an absolutely crazy concept. And I think that from the perspective of a Bitcoiner, you're just looking at that system, you're like, that's antiquated. That needs to change. And I think a lot of the evils from the world, including the world, look, Klaus Schwab is evil, but I think a lot of those people on the top, I think they're just acting by their incentives. I think they're just following what's good for them. And I think it's the fiat system that's architected in such a way that it rewards amoral behavior. So just a thought. Nick, you want to add to that?
Totally agree. I was just thinking Justin Trudeau is probably Buddy's probably buying BitMouse coin.
Oh, I love it. Well said, Nick. I'll say something that my business partner in Canada is actually Indigenous Canadian. And the opportunity for Indigenous Canadians to embrace Bitcoin as separation of state and money is huge. And so you mentioned that. Not only that, some of the remote communities can benefit from Bitcoin mining when they don't need the generators in the summertime that they need in the wintertime, et cetera, like that. I just want to say, you know, what you said is fix the money, fix the world. Isn't that true?
Absolutely.
Fix the money, fix the world. Fiat money is programmed to debase. Okay, people, please understand that. Your house is not going up in value. It's the value of the unit of account that is needed to purchase your account. It's decreasing because it's programmed to debase. Stocks are going to continue to go up because bonds are for fools, and anybody who owns bonds right now are fools, mathematically, intellectually lazy fools. And the pension funds that do own the bonds have to get all their returns from the stock market. So the Fed can't possibly let the stock market go down. So all of this talk about we're going to battle inflation by raising interest rates. Well, if they raise interest rates, stocks get crushed. Okay. So they're not going to raise interest rates. So what does it mean? The debt spiral accelerates. The currency debases faster. There's only one coin out there that is programmed for scarcity. It is called Bitcoin. The rest are shit coins. Please understand why Bitcoin was created. It's the most perfect asymmetric trade opportunity I've ever seen in over 30 years of being a risk manager. I cannot tell you how excited I am for regular people to have the opportunity to participate in what I view as being one of the greatest trade opportunities I've seen. And I've only seen two of them. And this is one, and it's the best one I've ever seen.
So go ahead.
And
Nick.
if you don't believe us, if you're watching this and you need a more someone with more authority telling you, just go read the latest Fidelity report that says
beautiful
buy
report,
Bitcoin.
Nick. Yeah, and what Fidelity does, every other asset manager in the world follows, because Fidelity steals clients from people who don't offer the same risk buckets or asset allocation buckets that Fidelity has. Every single other asset manager in the world right now, I guarantee you, is combing through that Fidelity report saying, holy moly. And then today, did you see that they admitted they've been mining Bitcoin since 2014? Oh my God, what a beautiful institution.
Mining and accumulating.
That's well, look, they're what are they, $4 trillion? So Bitcoin's only $1 trillion. So Fidelity itself is 4 times the size of Bitcoin. I mean, even if they had 10% of their assets in Bitcoin, that's what's 10% of 4 trillion? That's 400. What is it? Help me with the math here. So a quarter would be 1 trillion. So $400 billion in Bitcoin. If they had 10% of their assets, I bet you they don't even have 1% of their assets in Bitcoin. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's the excitement right there.
Freaking
okay.
Bullish. Incredibly bullish.
Bullish.
Go ahead, Nick.
Also, if you're watching the Bitcoin for Corporations Day 2 today, they actually had the head of sales and marketing of Fidelity on, and she was saying stuff like Bitcoin has already reached reserve asset status.
Wow.
What else did she say? She said, if you think you missed it, you haven't.
Oh my God, how that's beautiful.
She expects Bitcoin, like she representing Fidelity, she said, we expect Bitcoin to be a mainstream asset by 2026.
Son of a gun. All right. Well, I promise you a lot of people are listening in the asset management space, okay? Because why? Again, there's BlackRock And if I'm not mistaken, Fidelity is in second place or ish around global asset managers. Fidelity would be number 2 after BlackRock being number 1. And the only reason BlackRock is number 1 is because they offer all this bullshit product called exchange traded equity funds, ETFs, that hold bullshit like Western Union. And they hold Western Union because it's part of an index, an equity index. And Western Union is going out of business. See ya, Western Union. You're fucking baked.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack Mallers is just wiping the floor with them. And to end the news segment, I'm going to read you guys some bullish stuff. It's a passage from the Fidelity Report. It says, Bitcoin is fundamentally different from any other digital asset. No other digital asset is likely to improve upon Bitcoin as a monetary good because Bitcoin is the most secure, decentralized, sound digital money, and any improvement will necessarily face trade-offs. And I think that's beautifully put. And again, I think the significance of it. So Greg, explain it to people that don't have an appreciation for that. When asset managers get that type of language, please give us an analogy of what that would be like for the plebs or for people like
I'm going to keep it grade 11 math simple here, okay? The total value of all financial assets in the world today is $900 trillion. Bitcoin is 1 trillion, and there's 899 trillion of other financial assets in the world. There's $400 trillion worth of global debt. Okay, that's all debt. That's bank debt, loans to corporations. It's all debt. There's equities. There is currencies. There are structured products, gold, fine art. All of this adds up to a total addressable market of $900 trillion measured in US dollars, in today's dollars. Okay, let's play a math game. What if Bitcoin gets 5% of that market? Because it becomes world reserve asset. Now, 5% is pretty low. If Bitcoin becomes world reserve asset, replacing US Treasury bonds, I'm spitting on my screen. Sorry, I'm so excited. Replacing US Treasury bonds, okay, which are currently currently world reserve asset, and they're a buffoon investment. Okay, so Bitcoin becomes world reserve asset. Let's just say they get 5%. What's 5% of 900 trillion, guys? It's 45 trillion. What's 45 trillion divided by 21 million? Holy smokes, that's over $2 million US per Bitcoin. Fuck me. In today's dollars. In today's dollars. I think Bitcoin trading at whatever you showed Clark Moody's page. You guys look at bitbo.io, by the way.
Yeah.
You know that webpage? So that's done by 2 Canadians. So I need to shout out because I love you can change that to log scale. You can change bitbo.io to log scale graphics and it changes everything. When you do it in the long term, right? You change it to a log scale. Anyway, that's a shout out to 2 Canadians. Where was I going with this? I've lost my thought process. Bitbo.io. Okay, so look, change it to log scale. Isn't that beautiful? So that changes the life of Bitcoin to a log scale. Okay? That's a pretty nice little asset to hold, right? And then if it removes volatility, you don't overthink things. Now that's what it's done in what's called, normal scale, but turn it to log scale. And if you do it in the short term, it doesn't work. So you have to keep it in, in 5-year multiple increments or whatever. But the beautiful thing about understanding mathematics, and you play probabilities, okay? You say, what's the chance that Foss is right and it goes to $2 million of Bitcoin in today's dollars? Maybe Foss is a buffoon, but he might be somewhat smart, and I'm going to give him a 10% chance he's right and a 90% chance it goes to zero. Just playing a binary outcome. What's 10% of $2 million? 200,000. Okay. It's trading at 40,000. And it should be trading at 200,000 with a 10% probability that it gets to my price target. What are you supposed to do? You close your eyes, you DCA, you ship it in, and you fuck the world.
And fuck Trudeau. Awesome news segment. But anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
This made me so bullish. Software releases. The software releases are brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. Everybody needs to store their seed. You may as well make it the most secure you can. Check out the Cypher Wheel, great place to store your seed, or the all-new Cypher Grid. Both come complete with punch tool and tamper-resistant wire. What? All right, we've got BTC Pay Server version 1.4.0 that was released. Guys, you know the drill. Monday through Saturday, we post unless we tell you otherwise. We've also got audio-only episodes. Check us out, Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Anchor.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, I want to give a very special shout-out to the legendary Bitcoin Zoomer. He's the head of news at Bitcoin Magazine. You can go give him a follow on Twitter, @NickCan'tMine. And, of course, definitely go check out Greg. Give him a follow, @Foss, Greg Foss. He's toxic, boomer pleb, awesome signal. Definitely go want to give this man a follow. And guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective and the catastrophic fails from Justin Trudeau, definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode.
My fail was a fail.